Alright, well, before we go ahead and assemble these cylinder heads, I want to just familiarize you with all the parts that we're going to use to put this thing together. Okay, first of all, these are the valves. The big ones are the intake valves. Smaller ones are the exhaust valve. These are the valve spring shims, which are used to adjust the pressure, actually spacing the spring to the right pressure for the particular camshaft we're going to use, and valve spring combination. You have your valve spring retainers, which are hardened steel, and also your valve keepers are also hardened steel on this engine. And then we have a set of high temperature positive seal valve stem seals, which these will actually pop right on top of the valve guide. And as you can see, once they have proper installation, that little spring will keep everything tight. You won't have to worry about any kind of oil consumption. That's the best thing to use. And then our other product here is our valve spring set, and these are high performance valve springs, which are specially designed to use with this cam and valve combination we're going to set up here. Basically, it's really pretty basic. First what we're going to do is, when we get the cylinder head here, we're going to go ahead and put the valve stem seal on the guide. We're going to put on the specific number of valve spring shims on the cylinder head seat. The machine shop's already calculated how many shims I need to put on there, so I'll just have to follow their instructions. Then next we're going to put our valve spring on top of that. Then your valve spring retainer, that goes on top of that. And then last but not least, you put on your valve keepers. Those will lock right into the little groove on the valve. See right here. See if you can see. See how they have like a little keeper groove built right into the keeper, and that slides right into the existing groove on the valve. Try to give you a rough idea how it works. I just have them sitting on here. They're not in the groove. As I slide them up, they're going to pop into the groove. It'll be a perfect fit. See that? That way they don't slide out. They won't go anywhere. That's going to hold it all together. So anyways, if you're reusing any valves or keepers, always inspect these and make sure they have good square edges on them, because if they're rounded off, you're taking a chance they might slip out. Alright, well, the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to install our valve seals. And some valve seals are actually just made of rubber, and you can put them right on with your thumb and just push them right on. These particular ones have a little metal sleeve on them, and what I've done is I found a shallow wall. This is a 1/2 inch socket, and it actually slips right over the rubber and cups right onto the edge of the metal sleeve. So I'm going to use this to install them. It won't damage the rubber. You got to make sure of that. You have to use a good fitting apparatus of some kind that'll fit right on there. But anyway, this fits perfect. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give it a little shot of WD-40 on all these, or any kind of lubricant will work. Set this right on here like that and try to get it good and square. Actually, you may even try to put them on by hand like this, but usually they won't go all the way on. And it did go most of the way on. I'm going to give it a little tap. That's good. So anyway, it looks like we may not even need to use the hammer. I'm going to go ahead and try a few more of these. Just put it right in the socket like that. Get it started square. Great. Fits perfect. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and put all these on. Great. Those all went on easy. I'm just going to give you each one of them just a little tap. Usually you can tell by the sound it makes if it's bottomed out. If you hear a little dead sound, it probably needs to go down a smidge more. It's pretty important that you get them on square too, that way they'll run straight with the motion of the valve stem. Okay. Those are all on fine. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give each one of them a little drop of oil right down the valve stem. This is going to help lubricate the valve. See, not much of the oils are going to ever make it down here other than the fuel to lubricate it. So we're going to give it an initial pre-lubrication here, just a little bit of work. I'm also going to wet the valve stems when I put them in. But this will give them a lot of extra life if you do this. See? Just a little bit on each one. Lift this up. This should be simple. Grab a couple of exhaust valves and a couple of intake valves. Give each one a little shot of oil on top. Now this is an assembly lube, and I usually make my own. You can make it out of STP oil treatment and use maybe 2/3 STP oil treatment and the other third maybe 2050 motor oil, and that'll stick really good on there. You can see it's not going to drip off, so that's a good assembly lube. You can also buy assembly lube at your machine shop. They'll have that stuff right on the counter. I'm going to go ahead and put the valves in the valve guides, and I always like to spin them and make sure that oil gets smooth all the way around inside there. And usually I always just go by feel. If it feels like it moves smoothly and that you can't feel any burrs or anything, then you gotta call it good. That feels pretty good. Anytime you're building the engine, you feel anything that you have to force together or it doesn't feel like it's moving smoothly, you need to check it out, because sometimes there could be a little metal burr there in the way, or it just could be dry and need lubrication, or even a bent valve or any kind of part like that. You need to double check that stuff if you have any doubts. That way you only have to do it once. These are all fitting in pretty good, actually. Just work that oil in there. You'll be able to feel when it's lubricated good. See, now I can tell this one is tough to go in, so I think what we got is, which is kind of common thing, is we have a little burr that's mushroomed around the edge of that keeper slot. So all I'm going to do is take some very fine 400 grit sandpaper. I have some right here. I'm just going to go ahead and grab it like that and spin it. Just sand that little area right there. Otherwise we're going to scratch up the valve guide when we put it in. And that's generally a little place where your valve grinder can't clean it up. So this is a little thing that you have to do every now and then. Alright. Then make sure you clean it off real good. You don't want to get any contaminants or any dirt or grit in there. Give it a little shot of oil again. I've gone ahead and sanded a little bit. Oh, right in there. Alright, so anyway, we fitted all these 4 valves in, lubricated them, got our valve stem seals installed. The next thing we're going to do is put on our valve spring shims, the valve springs, and the valve keepers.